Good morning to an overcast day, 147. Had a bit of rain last night, although it's reasonably dry here. And it is very cloudy today, so I'm not too sure if the actual rain is going to hold off. The forecast, I think, says it's okay. So just to recap what the plans are today. I'll say what the plans are, they always change every day, but the main plan is to get the swimming pool plastered today. That's had 2 coats of the sealant, so that's going to have like a first scratch coat put on. I don't know if it's going to be a scratch coat as in normal, as in really scratched up, and then you need something for the pool material to bind into, but they don't have a massive thickness to play around with, so normally I think they put it on quite smooth and then just score it somehow. So that's going to be done today. The columns need to be coated with the same stuff. So all 3 columns at the front and the main big column in the middle, Big Daddy, that needs to be covered as well. Concreting needs to be done today. So the discussion is, do we get a concrete truck in? Bear in mind we're up on the middle floor, so we're 7-8 foot up in the air. So the mixer, men and material versus bringing a truck. I personally think it's a truck. The truck is about, for a full truck, what we need today, we're going to need to pour the garage wall. So all the boxing that's gone up around the garage, that needs to be poured today, as does in and around the bathroom area. So all of the boxing, as you can see, around the bathroom and all the way down the hallway, that needs to be done, and that's a 24-inch beam. So that's quite a lot of concrete going in there. I would assume they might actually finish off the bit down through there as well, but that may not be the case. Then they've got the actual concrete steps that they've made at the back down to the beach. That's got to be done as well. So I would have thought they would probably get a truck in to do that. The truck could also, what we've done is in this corner over here, as you can see where the wheelbarrow is, we've set up some planks to go over to the main guard wall. So what the truck could do, bear in mind it has the buckets out the back, it could pour straight into, at that height, it could pour straight into the actual wheelbarrows, and the guys can then run those straight over to the other side. So that would be easier. If they do it downstairs, then they've got to mix it, number 1. 2, they've got to obviously use all the materials, and 3, they've got to lift it to here and then pour it into the wheelbarrow and roll it over there. So I would say it's going to take 2 to 3 days doing it this way, plus the cost of obviously the machine and the time. Mix that with the men and the truck. So I'm really not too sure what they're going to do. Sense and a lack of time would tell me that we should be getting a truck in. Even if it was a 2,000 for the men and 3 days versus 3,000 for a truck, it just doesn't, to me it doesn't really make any sense. We'll probably need 4 to 6 men for 4 to 5 hours, if that, versus probably taking 2, maybe 3 days with 6 men, and obviously all the materials, etc. So we don't have a lot of time at the moment, so I'd rather pay a bit more and get that done and get it out of the way, because then we can move on. As soon as they're finished and as soon as they're freed up, we can utilise those men on something else. So I personally think that's what we should do. So and talk to them today and see if they're going to do that. We're still taking the formwork and the stuff out downstairs, so I think the main room is now nearly done, but we've got obviously the room downstairs here, and we've also got to get into the manholes over here where the irrigation tanks and everything are. They've got formwork and everything underneath them as well, so they've been sealed up for a month now, so they're not going to be pleasant down there. So we need to get those open today, and we need to get some air running through. The manhole covers, I'm assuming, no one's told me, but I'm assuming that you're able to fill them with concrete. Let's have a quick, so obviously they're pretty ugly, and at the same time they're going to fill up with water, so one would assume they're in the right way, fingers crossed, and I'm assuming that we can just fill those with concrete. So that'll be like a nice, it'll be, as much as they're ugly now, it could be a nice finish in with the floor. Obviously this is a lot of concrete going in there as well, so what have we got, 6 inches of concrete by 5 foot. In total I would say 6 inches of concrete by about 15 feet. So there's quite a bit of concrete there. We've also got to pour this today because that's not got concrete inside it, so that is definitely going to need to be poured. There's a bit of rain coming down, as we can see, so you just don't, I think it's going to be one of those days today. I think they boxed up the column over there where the electrical connections are for the pool lights in that wall there, like we discussed. I'm pretty sure they managed to get the conduit sorted out on the rear and get that boxed up and pulled yesterday. I think we saw that last night, so that's good. Steel benders obviously can get up there today and start doing their beams, so I'm going to talk to them about getting up and starting it as soon as possible. I need to get the labourers to clear this area because this is just a bit of a chip tip. Get this cleared up, and I'm not too sure. Once that beam is actually done, then the boxing can go right up and we can start doing the ceiling. So the beam in that wall there is really essential to get done, but we need the blocks done there first. So I need to pour this beam here and this beam here, then they can go up on the blocks and they can start doing the steel here. So we need to build a bit of a plan as to what's first, because at the end of the day, a lot of it is all stemming off of them being able to go up on the blocks so they can finish the beams. They could lower the beams in place there now anyway, but obviously they can't go right across. So this needs to be poured here, as does over in the corner. So yeah, I'm not too sure what they'll do first. I need to speak to the masons and the steel benders today to find out what their plan is. Obviously seal back up again downstairs. We need to unseal that. We've now got some ply sheets in each part of the house. We still need to have some ply sheets here, so I'm not too sure how many more we've got to come up. But we need to get some sheets here with a wide enough space for the scaffold. We need to go down the side here, because obviously the scaffolding's got to go up to do the steel and the boxing. The carpenters, at the moment, there's two sets. We have 2 to 3 guys that are working here, and we've got 2 to 3 guys that are working here. They're two separate teams and they work separate as well. So they're concentrating on the front beam and then coming up and across. I'm assuming that they're going to land up doing the boxing along here next and the boxing along here next, because that's what everything gets connected to. But they're still aiming to get that all done by the end of the weekend, so I'm not too sure how they're going to get that done. That is the connection with regards to the front door. So just here we can see the gap in this beam that's where the beam goes out for the 8-foot door, and obviously I want to go 12 foot. So we need to get that untied today and get that taken out, get that concreted, get that blocked, and then we'll put the beam out for the 12-foot door. That's my plan. I want to go 12 feet with the front door. I think Deborah actually said in the comments, are you going to put glass in the door to let some light through? It's a great point, because it's a massive, great space, and it's not going to be dark down there, obviously, but at the same time to get light coming through one side and the other. To give you an idea what I'm talking about, obviously, this here is not very high. I mean, this is about 6.5 feet where we are here, but we've obviously got, from 6 feet, we've got another 6 feet to go on top of here, which is about another 3 feet higher than the wall on the right. So that's how high the door's going to be. It's going to be monstrous. And it's going to be 6 foot wide. So like Deborah was saying, if it's one big solid panel, then there's no light coming through. But what we do have the other end, we have a 6 foot by 8 foot window going in here. This is a doorway that will be closed. This is a doorway that will be closed. But this is going to be a doorway with a lot of light coming through as well. So there's 2 massive amounts of light coming through this end, but there'll be nothing that end. So we need to think about door ideas. Are we going to go down the route of having one solid door with no window in it, which I think being a big solid door and having light in it is going to be quite difficult. And my plan is to try and have it so that, to a certain extent, from one side to the other, the door is the door. There's no door frame. It's just one massive pivot door. So I need to come up with some ideas there. So if anybody's got any ideas or any pictures or anybody that's done one before, stick it in the comments so I can have a look and start getting some ideas, because I'm certainly going to have to build it and have something in mind about how it's going to land up shutting and closing and securing. Plus the light will be quite important, obviously. So it'll be nice to have an awesome door with the right light. Nothing worse than getting the right door but no light, or the other way around, too much light and not a good door. Balancing act, and always a sacrifice, as they say. So other than that, it's pretty much the same as yesterday, really. It's the steel guys building beams over in the container, but now starting to do some stuff in situ. We've got to talk to them about what they're going to do next, because building some beams to bring over is one thing, but they need to start getting these beams in, because if they don't get them in, we can't box up and start getting ready to pour, and also the rest of the ceiling can't go up and come across. So I think it's really important that they start building the beams that need to be done in situ. So they're being done in situ, these ones here, because of the size of the steel. So they're going to be, I think they're 3/4 inch steel, those ones, but the steel for this one here at the front, right across to the column here, that was delivered yesterday. It's an inch steel. It is absolutely monstrous. They weigh about 25 kilos per length, and there's got to be 6-inch steels in each one of these 4 foots. So they're going to be a foot wide, and they're going to be 4 foot tall. So yeah, 6 steels, of which they're going to extend both of them. So I think they don't come in lengths long enough for that. So they'll come in at least 2 lengths there. So they will have 12 lengths of steel at 25 kilos each. So they've got to build the formwork in place, get the steel up there, and try and build the cages up there, because they'll just never be able, if they build them downstairs and try and lift them in, they'll need a crane. But anyway, they need to start at that end first. If they start there and get that beam in, then we can start boxing up and boxing across. As far as I'm aware, the carpenters are obviously going to box across today anyway, certainly along the actual side of the front of the building and the rear. The guys can actually lift those beams up and lower them in place. But again, in an ideal world, they'll do the outside, and then the beams will be put in, and then the inside will be put up. That's how it should be done. But obviously we're in a rush, so I'm not too sure what they would end up doing. Other than that, 3.5 weeks and counting. Our aim is to physically have this part of the house, this side, livable by the end of the month. That's the goal, but at the moment I'm sort of saying to the owner of the construction company, I just don't understand how you can achieve that without a plan. Yeah, you can each day we know we've got to do, but we're not building a plan, which means to a certain extent. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, Monday, we were meant to have all the formwork on the house itself downstairs taken down and brought up. We're now on Wednesday, yesterday that is, and still there's some bits to be tidied up. So that 1 day job has turned into 3 days, which means the Sunday date of completion, law of average says, is going to be at least 2 weeks. So if we're going to spend 2 weeks on getting the roof ready to pour, then the 25% for that job has just doubled the duration to 2 months. So if we had a 4-week goal, then if everything's going to take double the amount of time, then obviously it's going to take 2 months. But anyway, we have to try and have this part of the house livable by the end of the month if we can. So shed loads to do in the meantime. Obviously today we've got to finish off the groundworks and the drainage. I told you that we actually got the grease trap done at the back. As you can see, the actual concrete columns are all put in place and they're ready to be secured. Ideally we need to bring all of the manholes down by 1 or 2 courses so that the masons can get in there and do their benching. Again, for those watching new today, benching is where they manually create the flows for the pipes coming into each side to flow properly. So they actually manipulate where the water and the sewage goes, basically. They don't do plastic connections like we do, so it's just plastic pipes straight into a big concrete hole, and then they create the flows with concrete for the flow of water and sewage to go where it needs to go. So this one was obviously broken out yesterday by hand, and then this turns up. So today we'll get him to get that taken right out. We want to go right down over there, put a new base in, get that rebarred and poured, let that set and build a new, well, before we do that, we want to try and make sure we build, we want to try and take out as much of this piece over here as possible. And then we've got to try and get that built up so that we can, this whole manhole, we need to get that built up so that we can get this pipe set. Once this pipe is set and concreted, then we can backfill into here, we can backfill into here, we can backfill to a certain extent some of this, and then the excavator can go over and dig this one out properly, get the septic tank up and dig out the septic tank base by about another 10 to 12 inches. Then we can put the septic tank back in, hopefully get the right flow on here, and then we can have the excavator at the same time focusing on the front of the building, because the sewage has still got to go from the manhole here across the front, all the way across the front of the building. So the sewage on the front hasn't even been started yet. When I say started, the trough has been taken out, and we've pinged a line across the front of the building so we know the flows. But we still need to run the pipe from, I would say it's probably around about here. There's a bathroom here, there's a bathroom here, and there's also going to be a grease trap coming out from the kitchen to here as well. So there'll be 2 manholes here, and then there'll be a run of pipe work all the way along past this step, and it'll run through the driveway diagonally over to the manhole itself. So that's got to be done sooner rather than later, but obviously we need the actual, we need the runs and the trough to be dug out by said excavator, so we can get a start on that. Other than that, morning Smithy. Other than that, it pretty much is as is, you know, same thing. But again, we need to sort of sit here and turn around and say, if we're doing formwork today, what percentage, what level, what length of formwork is the goal today? If we're doing downstairs, what's got to be done and by when? They don't really work with goals here and planning. So as a result of that, you know, something that could take 4 hours sometimes can take the whole day. And no one knows whether it overran or didn't because there's no goal. So that's what happens when a job is managerless. But anyway, that's obviously the plan that we've. That's the problem we've had since the very beginning of the project. It's just a lack of on-site project management that, one, can manage what's going on, and two, can look after materials and people on an ongoing basis, which is why I'm here so much. But anyway, I'm sure we'll get there at some stage, and this is where we are. So I'll update you throughout the day. This is the downstairs space. And the pool starts. So in order to do the pool, they've got to add more concrete. So whereas they normally put 1 bag in to each cement mix, this has got 1.5. Because obviously it's the actual pool itself has got to be absolutely solid. And they also put a waterproof in it as well, which we've got waterproof in virtually all of them anyway, but important to get the waterproof in there because it's about ensuring that the actual, obviously it's waterproof, that's the whole reason, but obviously it's all about making sure that it has a bit of flex in it, and can repel any form of water penetration as well, both inside and out. So that's technically what the scratch coat's going to do. So rather than being completely scored, they just make it rough looking. So the surface they put on, the coloured surface, which we're going for a dark blue, it's so they can bed into it and grip. This is actually a finished floor, so what they'll do is they'll re-sand this to make sure there's no mortar on it. As you can see, splashes of mortar everywhere. They'll scratch the mortar off, and all they're doing is plastering all the external walls, and then the swimming pool surface will come down and around onto the floor, so there's no plaster to go onto the floor. This is the finished floor. We were going to go black, but we can't get it, so I've now asked for dark blue and they can't get that either, so we want to go for something dark, not the standard light like everyone else does. Steps have got to be built here obviously, so they've got to be formworked down and poured, and this is the sun shell, so again same thing, that will be plastered around this blue piece, and then the actual plant, I don't know what they call it, but the actual swimming pool material that they put on the floor will go obviously down here and around, and then down across all the steps and around here. So let's grab a 10 past 10 update. Alright. So these guys finishing off the bathroom. So they're boxing up all the way around. Leveling over. And the beam's done as well. And Ford and the carpenters are building the actual formwork that's going to go across here. It's going to be a monster beam, that one. So it's got to go right across here. He's got to do 2 of those. Bristol and his labourer are plastering the pool and doing a slight scratch on it. I think they've only done that side so far. Yeah. Steel benders now up in place. Hide their steel up there. Now manufacturing all of the actual bits up in place. So that's a 2 foot by 2 foot L shape. down in place. Carpenters are now running around the front of the building with formwork. So steel bender over the formwork going up. The guy's still emptying downstairs. Everything's got to be de-nailed and stacked as well. So that's what we're doing down here. So that's where we are so far at 10 o'clock. Bear in mind it's only been a couple of hours. We're also starting to set and level off on the storage area and draining. So we're now concreting in the drainage down here. That's at the right level. So 2 hours later he can backfill in here. He's already sort of tried to pull some of this down as it is. And then the main aim is to try and get him to go over, start levelling off all of this, start working on getting the septic tank out. And there's also a couple of lads downstairs stripping out all the formwork and jacks, etc. from downstairs. So here's some of the timber that's coming out, here's some of the jacks. So yeah, that's that. And then we also have to finish off and backfill the side return where the grease trap for this apartment is concerned. So we're going to get that crap out. But yesterday they set the run for the grease trap, so now we need to backfill down here as well. So we need to remove this formwork and try and, when he's over here, get some backfill going on as well. So that's where that is. There's still some formwork in here that's got to come out as well, but because it's in and around the pipe work, they've left that for now, but that needs to be taken out and lifted out as well. So again, everyone's quite busy doing other stuff at the moment, so housekeeping elements seem to be neglected. I have to make time for that. But anyway, the sun's come back out again. It looks like we've got clear skies for another hour or two. There's some clouds in the distance, which I'm sure are going to come over and change that circumstance, as it always does. But either way, with progress being made, fingers crossed the rest of the day will be the same. Okay, so we've got 1:30. One thing we are seeing downstairs, we are seeing a few cracks underneath. Now we're taking the formwork down and having a good butchers. We're seeing hairline cracks. Can't see if you can see them on the camera. It's right now very down there. There's here, jack. It also carries on all the way over here. It sort of disappears around before it connects to the wall. There's a few of them. So it seems to be they stem. Most of them seem to be stemming from the air conditioning holes we've got. There's none around that one. It seems they seem to start in and around where the air conditioning boxes are. But some of them are also exactly the same upstairs as well. So obviously what we don't want is cracks go all the way through, which is looking like some of them are. We have some that are upstairs, that's for sure, because I know there's one roughly here and it's there going through. It's just about to see it going through there. It's there, look. And that one sort of roughly carries on all the way through here. Can't see it here, but it shoots us straight through to the other side. So, but anyway, as you can see, on a positive note, it's emptying. It's starting to get swept up. We try and keep it as dry down here as possible. We need to tangle up some of the actual concrete that's down here. The guys are still finishing this side as well. This storage area is now empty. This is the bit that's got to connect into the swimming pool. Reasonable space. So we still need to sort out this connection here into the swimming pool. Once we're left open because of the glass, we'll be able to decide what we do with that. We'll have to get it tanked down here. Obviously this is a scratch coat down here, so we need to have it plastered properly once it's all swept out, dried out. In fact, let's see whether it's roughly here somewhere, isn't it, where the one goes across the pool. Anyway, so this all needs to be swept out as well. Obviously replastered at some stage. So this is where we are down here so far. So let's make sure it's still filming. Sometimes I spin it around and it stops filming and I'm talking to myself for 10 minutes. I don't even know. Right, okay, well the rebar boys are getting the beam done. As you can see, the bar has pretty much been put through so far. As it is on that side. Carpenters have pretty much got the inner boxing all the way around, which is good. Our wood pile's getting bigger, which is nice to see. Wood area has its first coat on, scratch coat that is. That's good. Scratch coat going on there. How's it going, Bristol? All good, buddy? Excellent. List of excavators all back again. He's actually got in the middle now, which is good. So he's managed to pull over a bit of backfill. He's managed to get over here. So now he's just trying to level out. So we've got the footings dug out over the board. Footings here, they're going to be poured as well. So this has got to be dug out and concreted. That bit of wall's got to come out and it will join over to this one. And we can backfill some of this here, so we need to get it empty, get some labourers in there in a minute and get him to start getting some of the soil over. We can certainly actually backfill some of this, that's for sure. Yeah, that's good. Obviously his main aim is to get over and get the septic tank out. Get that floor redug again. Pedro's still in the actual manhole, digging that back out again. He's still downstairs putting more wood out. Yes, what else? Windows. Talking to the guy in the UK about the windows. They're being ordered as we speak. Obviously we've got 3 2-foot windows. And we've got a 3-foot window, 4-foot window, and the bifolds on here. Again, I've told them to neglect here over the house. We need as much man hours put onto the house as physically possible. So we definitely need to make sure that's going good. Next box frame's being made up for the beam. Ford's cracking on with that. Boys are pulling beams, which means they're going to be going for the middle. Pretty much done in here now, near on. So they're nearly ready to be boxed up and poured. They're done, that's all done. Not too sure what that's hanging down here for. Probably use them as a step. Plumber is still yet to come down and sort out down here. It's starting to look a little bit more like a backyard. Until the garage comes along and plants itself there. Looking up, we're going to get a concrete truck that's going to be coming this afternoon and we'll be pouring these beams here. So this beam along the right hand side of the garage, the toilet area where the guys are working there, and also the steps at the back over here. We're going to get all those poured, and if the guys can get the beam done, which I doubt they can, but if they could, we could also pour the beam at the front as well, but that's a tall ask. But hey ho. Got to have a goal, haven't you? So yeah, the steps as well, we'll get those poured. And then we've also got a walkway up and down this side of the building as well, whereas at the moment it's obviously climbing over stuff to get up here. So yeah, we're making progress. So fingers crossed. It's time now, 1:30, well about 3:30, 4:30. This place should be a little bit more different yet again. Hopefully the concrete would have come, we would have poured, and that is also then giving us space, because once the concrete is poured in the garage, then the formwork can come off, and so the blocks can go up on there as well. So there's more we can actually do once certain things are done. So the boxing up enables us to put beams enable us to pour enables the formwork to come off, and the formwork coming off means we can actually block up. So that's some of the goals anyway. So let's see what the afternoon offers. Okay, so we're 4:15. We've got concrete arriving. Before we have a look at the concrete, show you the pour quick. We've actually got both sides scratch coated. So Bristol's got one side done and the other side's been done as well. The steps are now being formed in, and at some stage later on, if not tomorrow, carpenters will get the actual steps in. Board's working on actually getting side work screwed in properly. That's going to be poured in a minute with the concrete. Beckles are strengthening underneath. Tidying up a little bit going on there. Our soil at the back has been levelled a bit more. Okay, so we've actually got this backfilled now. And this backfilled as well. Just spread out a little bit more so we can actually get the septic out. Yep. Footings are dug out for the steps on both sides. We've actually got a mixer out the front, so they send the aggregate, the cement, etc. all in one lump, and it's actually mixed on site. So see what I mean? Boys. You see a machine here has it all in the back. So the stone is in the back, concrete's in the back, water's in the back. Now what we're trying to do is load it into the bucket, put the bucket, not sure that's going to work. Trying to box off the column so that the concrete doesn't come out the front. What they often use is cement bags. What they're saying is because the actual beam is 2 feet, then it might blow the bags out the other side, so they've actually put some formwork in there instead. So anyway, they'll carry on doing that. Megals. These boys are actually cutting in the beam, so there's a beam on both sides. This one is obviously 1.5 foot set further to the west compared to the other one, and this one will sit downwards, and then the one at the back will sit upwards. So this one's going to be up through the ceiling, this one's coming down, and then what they'll do is they'll probably take the rest around the pan carts, as they call it, which is a wheelbarrow in our language, and they'll cart them straight over there and pull them manually. So far that's looking like that's going to be it for today, I would have thought. Get the guys to make sure we cover back up these air conditioning vents, otherwise we're going to have loads of water back in there again. That's pretty much the day over. So the evening is ending. Concrete lorry being delivered. So lots of vibrating going on. Pitch black. We've actually got an excavator trying to take the concrete up to the columns. Beams. Slow show around here. Sorry about the darkness. So we actually have the excavator bucket taking the concrete to the top, and the guy's trying to have the concrete poured, which is going absolutely everywhere. But semi-easier then taken up in buckets, I suppose.
Eddie, come this way, it'll be better.
But anyway, what's the time anyway? It's only 6:15, and as you can see in Barbados, it gets pitch black. Bit of vibrating going on. Tyson working late on the Guinness.
Yeah!
Help us
Get it
tidy
done! Get it done!
Trying to get it done.
What do you mean, trying? Get it done! That's a trend.
I've been naughty, boy. Listen, in the morning, I can look what I know. You know what I'm saying? I know exactly what it was.
Here's my small pancake. Yeah. We need all the pancakes.
And the front. Bit of a flash, I can see where I'm going. This machine itself actually mixes on site. Barbados concrete. The stone, the sand, everything's inside, and it mixes and pours at the same time. And this is what they've been doing. Silly idiot. Always parks down there. Unreal. Silly man. All because he can't be bothered to walk. But anyway, that is pretty much us for tonight. This will continue for about another hour or two. They've still got to do the step over there as well, which is what they're setting up as we speak. And then they've got to finish this as well. So I'm going to call it a night for now.